Yair, thank you so much for joining us on the CUFI Weekly. So I want to start off with asking you about October 7th in particular. From your perspective, what were you experiencing, when the sirens started and before we knew the full scale of things?
Sadly for me, it was like almost a normal or regular morning. A few times a year, we have what I call little drops of rain, which is rocket launch on us. So my brother Eitan, my little brother, was visiting me. Yeah. That's also normal for me for the holidays.
So then at what point did you realize that this was something much bigger and something much worse, I guess?
It was a few minutes, then we got a message, intern message, from the kibbutz that says that the Hamas terrorists are inside the kibbutz, wearing IDF uniforms.
What were those initial moments like when, you first came face to face with Hamas terrorists?
We were in the safe room, and I tried to keep the door closed, and then I opened the door and step out with my hands up. I have nothing to do, so they just took me.
What was that like, not knowing what was going to happen one day after another, and how did you yourself, keep going through that extended period in captivity?
You don't know what can happen in a few minutes and a few hours and a few days, but I just try to I tell myself, okay, this is your life right now, and every second, every minute, every hour, every day that you are alive, it's a sort of a gift.
Not long after October 7th, the IDF launched their operations in Gaza. Like, how close did that feel? The IDF's fighting in Gaza, like, could you hear the bombs and the airstrikes, or did that feel very far removed from where you were?
No, it was pretty close. We heard the bombings. We ran. We escaped from bombings. I hear the tanks or something going over me. I was off all the time in the tunnels, but we heard and we ran.
When you were released, like, what was the lead up to that like? Like, were you told did the terrorists say that you were being released? Was there any sort of indication that was going to happen, or did it come completely out of the blue?
No, they came like 4 or 5 days before. They told us I was held in that moment in a group of 5 people. One of them, my brother Eitan, and they told us like we had to choose 2 of the 5 people who gonna be released. After 4 or 5 days, they came with the plates of cashew and the dates and cookies. So we understood that something is gonna happen. They bring a camera and they start to film. They told us that Sagi and me, and we are getting released. They filmed Eitan. They used that video of my Eitan and me hugging for the last time. Hamas terrorists, they used that video as a propaganda after that.
Did you realize or even think that there would be so many people calling for your release all over the world? They bring them home, people wearing the dog tags, the pins, the CUFI events we did, so many events. Your picture was in every Jewish community center, Hillel, all over the world, people with that same message, bring them home. Did you ever think that was happening, or any sort of even thought that anything like that was happening?
Even churches.
Even churches. Even churches,
it was
100%.
Crazy. Actually, down there, we knew just the people that are in Israel, in the hostages square, and because I didn't have I have I had TV for maybe 1 week,
Okay.
and we heard the news maybe for another week, so we didn't know. But when I get released, then I realized that we have, not just in Israel, all over the world, Jewish communities, Christian communities, praying and supporting and advocating, and it was, for me, it was like a super push of energy. And it was, I didn't know that, but it was also for my family before my release.
What was that moment like, of actually being released, of having that freedom after so long? Like, what was that moment like? Was it even, do you remember much? Was it believable that this is actually happening?
For me, it was actually the worst day for me of my captivity, because I left behind my brother and the rest of the group. So a day after I get released, I film a video, I start to advocate, and I get released. My body was released, but my mind, my spirit, my soul, it was
Still there.
still there until October, the release of Eitan.
So what has that process been like for you, for your own healing, of course, with Eitan and everything? What has that process been like for you in healing and really, I don't know if I'd say reintegrating back into normal life, because your life has changed forever, but what has that process been like for you?
I actually didn't have the time for do my rehabilitation, because, like I told you, I start to advocate and
Right.
fly to the USA, and now maybe we can actually start to think about the future and rebuild and rehabilitation and something new. But I'm excited to, I always try to look ahead to the future, forward. I try to build a new future for my community of Niroz, and also for all Israel.
So I think that's incredibly beautiful, and especially it's something I've seen with the Jewish community. I had a dear friend, Irving Roth, who was a Holocaust survivor, and people from the Jewish community who survived these traumas, rather than being stuck in the negative, there is this idea of looking forward and building a better future. Right now, you've been speaking at a number of churches and other venues with CUFI, sharing your story. And since your release, you've seen the positive, like we talked about, churches and synagogues and JCCs speaking out, but you've also seen the very negative of people who were supporting Hamas post-October 7th. What is, if there was one message that you want to deliver to anybody watching this, whether they were wearing a dog tag saying bring them home, or they were chanting against Israel and in support of Hamas, what is the one message that you want to convey to them, that you want them to hear from you?
So my message, it will be that I have a story, and I tell my story, and I will tell also in the future my story, because every coin have two sides, right? And I don't try to make anyone to think a different way, but I convince that in order to choose one of the two sides, you need to listen the two sides. So I telling my story because I was there, I was kidnapped, friends of mine were murdered and killed and burned alive, and I was kidnapped for almost 500 days, my brother for 738 days. So after that, I shared my story, and people can hear my story and decide with basics.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I just want to say this has been incredible, and I'm just so grateful that after everything you've endured, you have the courage, the passion to really share your story, because that's what we need. We need more truth, and you experienced it. You experienced something that 99.9% of people will never experience, and the fact that you're here sharing that, letting us giving us an insight into that is really powerful. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and I want to tell you that it's my responsibility to share the story.
Thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe so you get a notification every time a new episode hits. And if you want to check out some of our previous episodes, and we've got some really good ones, click on one of the thumbnails and that will take you right there. And finally, if you want to know more about CUFI and the work we do, go to CUFI.org to check out all the resources we have available free to you.